Anthony Edwards continues to get better year after year, and so far in his 4th season, I think it's pretty safe to say that Ant is currently the best slasher in the NBA. Now before we look at Anthony's downhill scoring, we first have to quickly go over his outside shooting, because this lays the foundation for the rest of Ant's game. Edwards is currently shooting a career high 38% from 3, with a decent amount of volume as well, and Ant's very comfortable generating shots both off the dribble and catch. Now that outside shooting is vital for Ant's game, because that forces the defense to step up and guard him from beyond the 3, which gives Edwards the leverage to create these downhill drives.
Edwards to the rim.
Notice how this defender has both feet planted outside of the 3, and from this spot, Edwards is going to use all this space to pick up a head of steam and explode into the straight line drive. When initiating these drives, Ant loves to pick up momentum off the dribble, where he can then use his combination of strength and explosiveness to overwhelm the backline defense. On this play, notice how Ant pretty much starts this drive from the logo, and when he's able to pick up a head of steam off the screen, there's nobody across the league who can handle him one-on-one. This is a nice action the Timberwolves like to run to get Edwards some momentum with the ball, where Ant starts this play off on the opposite slot, then he's going to blast off this cross screen and get this pitch back from the big, which allows him to get a running start into his attack. Now Edwards is also more than comfortable attacking from a standstill, and this is where everything comes back to his freakish combination of strength, explosiveness, and body control. Watch him here catch and slide the ball between, then take one dribble and pick up through this gap. And from this spot, Ant has no problem striding all the way to the rim. What I also find really impressive is how Ant is able to fully commit his body into moves to then explode right up into these tough finishes. Notice on this play how Edwards is going to sell this crossover by sinking all his weight down into his right foot. And after he brings the ball across, Ant still has the body control to pick up and veer back into the defense to create a finishing angle. This move here is pretty crazy, where Anthony is going to come off the screen towards his left, and in stride, watch him sink his weight into his left foot, which gets the defense leaning across his frame, and without stopping his momentum, Anthony is going to transfer the ball between, and take one dribble and elevate at the rim. When playing off the bounce, Ant also has good pace with the ball. One of his favorite moves out of pick and roll is this quick between to split the hedging big man. You'll see him here take one casual dribble off the screen, and when he feels the defense overplaying the outside drive, Ant's going to quickly split his stance and knife through the defense.
Crowder switches onto Edwards, elevates.
I also think Edwards this year has trimmed a lot of fat out of his game. If Ant feels like he has a physical advantage against his man, he has no problem isolating in the mid-post and getting to these bully ball drives. You'll see Minnesota here clear out the entire left side of the floor for Edwards, and watch him simply rip to his left and put his inside shoulder into this defender's body, moving him across the paint, which sets up an easy 2 points. You can see the same thing here, where the Timberwolves again let Ant isolate in the mid-post, leading to another easy layup at the rim. Now Ant's explosiveness by itself is already enough to make him an elite deep paint scorer, but on top of all that athleticism, Edwards is also a really slippery and crafty finisher in traffic. Because Anthony has so much balance with the ball, he's able to use a variety of different euros and strides to create finishing angles. You'll see him here pushing the ball in transition, and notice how the defense tries to build up a wall to keep him out of the paint, but watch how Anthony is going to get his man to open up by pounding the ball and exploding towards his right. Then he's going to euro back across towards his left and get this layup on the other side of the rim. This is also a nice move here, where Ant's going to refuse to screen by exploding towards his right. And notice how this helped defender slides across to take away his driving angle. But in response, Ant is going to pound the ball and shift his weight to his left foot to then gather and explode back to his right with these next two steps. Edwards is also elite at using these deceleration steps, where he sinks his weight down, slowing down his strides, which throws off the timing of the defense. You'll see Ant turn the corner off the screen, and notice how he decels off his left foot and puts his eyes up, which lifts this big out of his stance, allowing Ant to step around and extend into a finish. Anthony also likes to mix this deceleration into his Euro steps. On this play, you'll see him go between and beat the first line of defense. And notice how he drives his weight down into his left foot and lifts the ball up, which pops the defense out of their stance and allows Ant to step through for an uncontested layup. And that deceleration also extends out to Ant's floater game, where he loves to attack into open space and pull the defense's momentum down, to then slam the brakes and rise up for a vertical runner. You'll see Anthony on this play mix everything together, where he first attacks this defender's top foot with a crossover. Then he's going to pick up and decel with this Euro step, and fade back into a floater. Throughout this season, I also think the Timberwolves have done a much better job with their spacing. They pretty much always have the floor spread out with shooters, and then they use the only non-shooter as a screener, which pulls his man out of the paint, giving Edwards open space to attack into. I like this play here, where the Timberwolves again use Gobert as the primary screener, but then they're also going to have Mike Conley sprint up and set this ghost screen. And as Ant starts to get into this drive, notice how Minnesota also has a 44% 3-point shooter spotting up in the corner, which forces this defender to stay glued up, giving Ant an open runway to the rim. And when Rudy Gobert's not on the court, the Timberwolves offense still doesn't change much. On this play, they're going to have Ant working off this ball screen on the left slot, while both corners are dotted up with shooters, which again gives Ant a wide open lane to attack into. Now, if I had to nitpick one thing about Anthony's game right now, it would have to be his passing. There's many possessions where Ant plays with tunnel vision and forces up a tough finish, missing his open teammates. Notice on this play how Edwards is able to pull 4 defenders down into the paint, but instead of making this kickout pass to the corner, Ant tries to get this layup over Brooklyn's length. But besides that, I think Anthony Edwards this year has taken another massive step forward with his game. He's currently shooting a career high from 3, he's got the skill and physical talent to put a ton of pressure on the rim, plus he's also been a huge part in the Timberwolves' elite defense. If you want to support this channel directly, feel free to check out my Patreon for exclusive breakdowns. But regardless, I still appreciate you stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one. The Kid's here.